So since workload continues to be a critical issue for faculty, there was a report or a survey that was done in spring 2012 by AFT that surveyed 377 faculty members, nearly 40% of faculty in the district, and the respondents were almost equally split between full-time and part-time faculty members. And faculty were asked to reflect on their typical teaching and non-teaching tasks, and then were asked a specific question: do you routinely perform duties that are not specifically required of you by your contract? 70% of faculty respondents answered yes. Over half reported that those extra contractual tasks consume up to 20% of their average workday. And just quick highlights, a few points. One, technology has increased workload, both in terms of the amount and the pace of the work expected of faculty and the types of new knowledge and skills faculty must learn. Two, the demands of outside agencies have imposed completely new categories of work on faculty. Three, non-teaching work comes in fits and starts, which makes tasks difficult to plan for and overwhelming to complete. Number four, non-teaching tasks are experienced as interruptions to the more important work of teaching and working with students. Number five, faculty view top-down initiatives from administrators as a coincident feature of meaningless work. And number six, part-time faculty feel pressure to perform non-teaching duties when there are no full-time faculty in their departments, or when winning full-time positions seem dependent on their participating in non-teaching work. Just wanted to put that out so you guys can consider that, and we have some more documentation, and Catherine will follow up.
Yeah, just briefly. Again, I was here last month, and I want to thank you again for the union for helping to keep this discussion going, because it is really, I think, what matters most to faculty right now in terms of the quality of their lives, quality of their teaching lives. So my piece is just to summarize. I'm not going to read you a list, because nobody wants to hear a list, but to summarize some of the examples of non-teaching workload activities that were reported in this survey. The survey went out to all approximately 1,000 faculty, and like Eric said, to get an almost 40% response, you don't usually get that for any survey. So it means that faculty really had something they wanted to tell us about their workload. So the first item that's really huge is committee work and meetings. And I remember years ago, we put together a committee to study committees. Some of you probably were still here then. And they met, and they had lots of committee meetings, and they came to the conclusion they couldn't figure out what to do. So it's like some, crazy. But anyway, that's one of the things. Another thing that came up is such excessive amounts of time spent reading and responding to college and student email. Email has become, as everybody in the room knows, the way of communicating. Well, there's texting, but usually when it comes to faculty work, it's email, and it just takes up so much time. There are a few items under SLOs. That's a big item for faculty in terms of time and attention. There are a number of items here under our courses, which of course is the most important thing we do, is to teach, and course scheduling and planning and updating and maintaining and program planning and program review and recruitment and promotion. And there's just a whole long list. I'm not going to go through it because I know nobody wants to really hear a list, but it's on the piece of paper we gave you. There's also reviewing peer faculty syllabi and mentoring faculty, and this is really something that I've always done a lot of, and I really believe is so important in our departments. Then there are things around student, the work we do with students, which really is what matters most to us, I think, teaching and helping students. So it's counseling students, advising clubs, writing letters of recommendation. I just wrote a few this week, even though I'm semi-retired. And communicating with and visiting potential employers, fundraising for scholarships, all the kinds of things we do to try to help our students. And then there's some things around labs, managing labs, monitoring equipment, that kind of thing, learning all the new technology. And the last item, I'm trying to do it by categories, has to do with involvement in local and statewide activities and committees and professional development. And I counted, everything on the list, and I came up with like over 30 items, and I thought about, well, when I was a full-time faculty person, did I do all these things? No, I didn't do all these things, but I did, I would say, more than 50% of these things pretty much, all the time. That was part of what I needed to do, to fulfill my obligations. And we're not mentioning things like hiring and tenure review and curriculum and budget, which take excessive amounts of time and are super important, and we really believe we want to help. So that's not mentioned here because those committees are contractual. So I just wanted to tell you that. And I also wanted to tell you that, kind of coincidentally, to be honest, Jesse Raskin, who teaches legal studies at Skyline, and it's a one-person department, wrote a letter to our negotiating team. And I received it today. He asked me to forward it to the negotiating team, and I realized it would be something you might want to read about, because it's about what it's like to be a one-person department. And when you read his letter, when you have time, you'll realize that it's impossible. I don't know how people do it, but they do. Many of our faculty members are leading one-person departments. So I just wanted to let you know what we gave you. And then John Calavita, English faculty at Skyline, is just going to read a couple of quotes that came to us through that survey that we did in 2012. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to ventriloquize the voice of others. Program review, accreditation, SLO assessment, all of these are forms of educational research or administration that should be done by educational researchers or administrators, people with training, time, and compensation to do the enormous amount of work required. These things would be done well. Second, deans and upper administrators appear to be unaware and not particularly concerned about faculty workload issues. And third, one faculty member explained that the expectations of all of us are expanded, but not just a little, exponentially. Every semester, there's yet another new requirement and time commitment thrust upon me and us. It is time for some change. Pay is not the answer because time is a finite resource.
Thank you for